Alabama back on top. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins! The Crimson Tide will not be denied. Devontae Smith cannot be stopped. Saban with his 7th national championship. National championship number 18. 13 in all. Absolute perfection.
Jay Barker led the Crimson Tide to a national championship in 1992. Winner of the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award and a finalist in New York for the Heisman Trophy. Voted the SEC Player of the Year. Drafted by the Green Bay Packers, seeing time with the New England Patriots and the Carolina Panthers. The winningest quarterback in Alabama history with the record of 35-2-1. Member of the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. Jay Barker brings that same championship quality and football expertise to his own radio network and show. Joining him is University of Alabama professor Lars Anderson, who is also a New York Times best-selling author and a 20-year veteran of Sports Illustrated. Live from the AVX studios in downtown Birmingham, The Jay Barker Show.
And hard to believe we're already moving through Wednesday. And we got the game against Arkansas coming up this weekend for the Crimson Tide. Other big matchups around the SEC to dive into as well. And we'll get into also some NFL news and notes for you and all that we got to get into today, dealing with the CFP as well.
Gosh,
the top four released last night. No surprise as far as what's going on. All right. Also, don't forget we're presented by Topgolf of Birmingham. Get out to Topgolf. It's a great place, family fun for your friends and your family, your coworkers. They do a lot of great events out there, and Mark Grenier and his staff are just terrific. Again, the restaurant, the food, the drinks, and especially the terrace they've got there. They do a lot of different parties, charity events, and so much more at Topgolf of Birmingham. And we're driven by Sunny King Ford on the sunny side of the street, Oxford, Anniston. Go by and see Tony Russell and all the great folks at Sunny King Ford. I could hear him in the background. Matt Coulter, I think, live at AVX, and also Lars Anderson. And as we continue here on this Wednesday edition, guys, I hope you're doing well. Matt, how are you? And I guess Matt can't hear me, so not sure what is Lars there? All right, so we'll go through real quick, Josh, if you don't mind. You communicate to them through that headset or whatever, and if for some reason they're not able to hear me and stuff, and let me know that from their point of view on that side. But hey, let's go through real quick and look at the CFP top four and where that sits right now when it comes to college football. And last night, and I don't think, as I said, any surprise as to kind of what went down, and everybody kind of believed that this order was kind of going to be the way it was based on not only the way that the teams have played, the eye test, and also just because of the Oregon-Ohio State as far as their matchup, head-to-head matchup. So Oregon being the winner there. But Georgia comes in at number 1 last night. Alabama comes in at number 2. Oregon at 3. Ohio State at 4. You got Cincinnati at number 5, so sitting right outside the top 4. No surprise, they haven't been able to get inside the top 4 when it comes to CFP. They've done it with the AP, the coaches polls, as you see them at number 3 in the AP, and also in the coaches poll sitting at number 3 also. After that, you've got, again, Michigan at number 6, Michigan State at number 7. You got Notre Dame at number 8. At number 9, you got Oklahoma State. And then also coming up there at number 10, you got Wake Forest. Again, the team is kind of sitting right outside of that area, I guess you might say. Notre Dame is very close, sitting at number 8 with a 9-1 record. And we saw them move up in the AP and to the coaches poll. So, Josh, as I'm talking, I'm gonna let you pass it over to them once I get done here, get their thoughts on the top 4. So, again, the top 4 is Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, and Ohio State.
You're listening to The Jay Barker Show, live from the AVX studios in downtown Birmingham.
Fall is a great time to get your home improvement projects done with the help of Banks & Company Hardware in Utah. They have a great selection of hardware, lumber, sheetrock, and home repair products for yard work. They carry Husqvarna blowers, weed eaters, and chainsaws. If you're a hunter, Banks & Company Hardware has deer corn, moultrie feeders, deer scents, hunting clothes, jackets, boots, orange vests, and hats. Stop by and see Barton Elliott and his staff today at Banks & Company Hardware, open Monday through Saturday in downtown Utah.
It takes two vaccines to help protect you this season, the flu and COVID-19. And now you can get both shots at the same visit. Learn more at cdc.gov/vaccines.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance. And now for the price of 2 or 3 pills, you can get nearly 100. There's no need to pay expensive prices for Viagra or Cialis. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Change your life for the better and have fun. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
800-288-9657. 800-288-9657. 800-288-9657. Again, that's 800-288-9657.
It takes two vaccines to help protect you this season, the flu and COVID-19. And now you can get both shots at the same visit. Learn more at cdc.gov/vaccines.
There once was a woman who couldn't find the right hue. A simple nude lip is what she sought. A whole lot of nothing is what she got. So two friends, KJ and Amanda, pondered a lifetime of not being represented in the beauty aisle. And Mentic Cosmetics was born. And QVC bought in, because every woman deserves makeup made for her. And won't that be the best tale to tell when you gift your own friend shades like Dope Taupe or Foxy Brown? I'd say that story is to be continued. QVC and HSN. This is shopping brought to life.
Want to learn a new language so it will actually stick? Try Babbel. Practice real-life conversations in the Babbel app.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Get personalized help in Babbel's live online classes.
Classes are limited to 6 people, so everyone can get the help they need.
Review words and phrases with fun games, or dive into the culture with short videos. Whatever your learning style, Babbel gives you the tools you need. Babbel, more ways to learn. Now try Babbel free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Join Randy Smalley and me, Captain Ray, for the Randy and Ray Football Forecast, where we pick the games against the spread. It's this Friday night at 11 following the high school scoreboard show on Tide 100.9. Brought to you by Randy Smalley Floor and Tile.
You're listening to Tide 100.9. Are you in the holiday spirit? Check out Tuscaloosa's Home for the Holidays on Nick 97.5. All Christmas songs 24/7.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A very mild November afternoon. The sky partly to mostly sunny. The high today 75. For tonight, increasingly cloudy with a low at 55. A mostly cloudy day tomorrow. The chance of a few scattered rain showers. The high at 65. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 75 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Transition, blocked from behind, and picked up by Gurley. And Bama runs the other way with numbers. JD on the near wing, throws it out. JQ, nice catch in traffic, fakes a pass, bounce pass now. Ellis, reverse layup for 2. Anderson, JQ all over him, right side to Smith. Smith looking low, nothing there, stolen by Miles. Miles grabbing it and throwing it now. JD to inbound it. Gets it into Miles. Darius will give it back to JD. Runs into the front court. Goes to the rim. Elevates in, threw it home.
We locked in on defense. I've said it before, like once our defense gets going, it just makes everything easier. Really just lose yourself on the defensive end and just let the offense flow. He has confidence in his shot. You know, he's actually a good free throw shooter anyway, so him knocking down those 2 free throws didn't surprise me.
Chuck's a great free throw shooter. I mean, I felt like he was ready for it and it wasn't a surprise to us. Obviously, they're electric players, above the rim guys. It just turns our bench up. Our bench is great, always in tune with the game and always finding a way to get us going. And obviously, those 2 dunks were huge for us to get the crowd going.
I wouldn't say nice. I like to, just blow everyone out. But I mean, it's definitely a good sign to not give up, and fight back. Us going through that, a couple of games. Just not
you can't see me? It says I'm in the show.
He's got a tick since he's been here. So I mean, I feel like that's a good stat. So I mean, he's into the game. He's very passionate about the game, and just fires us up more to just double down and get stops and win the game.
Continue here live from AVX, Audio Video Excellence, and we got a few technical difficulties there at the beginning. We'll get it straightened out and get up and running as soon as possible. But before that, let me tell you about Local Realty, one of our great sponsors out there, and Jeremy and Gina Miller have just done a terrific job putting together this company, and just a great team, a great group of people, no compromises, service, giving you the best service, but giving you the best way for you to save money and to let you know as far as what they do as far as a flat fee. The flat fee is $2,900 up to a $500,000 listing. So what that does, that immediately going to put money back in your pocket. Look, this home is a lot of people's biggest investment. And when you sell it, you want to make the most money off of it. So when you look at it from a standpoint of just what the flat fee does, again, $2,900 up to $500,000 list, it's going to save you thousands, if not tens of thousands on selling your home on the sell side. So a lot of the things that, you see out there as far as the percentages and stuff, I mean, that's going to beat it every single time. They've saved millions when it comes to so many people out there. They've sold thousands of homes and helping them when it comes to saving money, more or less making money. Again, they believe it's your equity. You should get the most out of it. Go to localrealtyflatfee.com. That's localrealtyflatfee.com for more information. All right, as we continue here live on the Jay Barker Show with Lars Anderson, Matt Coulter, and we got some technical difficulties going on back in the studio, but we'll get that cleared up here in just a little bit. We're running through the top 4 CFP. Georgia sitting at number 1, Alabama at number 2, Oregon at number 3, and Ohio State at number 4. You got Cincinnati sitting there at number 5, Michigan at number 6, and again, Michigan State right outside at number 7, and Notre Dame at number 8, sitting at 9 and 1. So really, really good stuff there. And Josh, if you don't mind, communicate with me on text whether or not we got Matt up on the phone or Lars up on the phone as well there on the hotline. And if not, where else we might have them. So we'll figure that out here in just 1 second as well. All right. So a lot going on as far as the CFP, also college basketball as well. And a lot of things that, you look at from the standpoint of again, Alabama this weekend, they got Arkansas coming in. They want to play well against them, and not only that, but also continue to build up on what they're accomplishing right now when it comes to being that number 2 team in the country. To win big against the Arkansas Razorbacks would be great. And Bryant-Denny Stadium, the biggest thing too is that it is Senior Day. So Senior Day is a huge thing when it comes to the Alabama Crimson Tide, and to celebrate their seniors, guys who a lot of times have come through and have won a ton of football games. We've seen that over the last few years where they've set records of guys as far as the wins, the championships, and also all the accolades. So a lot of good stuff there. Also, yesterday we brought up a little bit about this, and I heard it earlier about Jamison Williams and just what he's done this year, and now up for the Biletnikoff Award, one of the leading candidates for that. Will Anderson and others that will be at Bryce Young for the Heisman, and Will Anderson had been mentioned in the Heisman. I don't think he'll have a shot at that, even though he might be the best player in college football. Still not going to have a chance to do as far as getting in that mix as a defensive player We haven't seen many of those in recent years, but I'd love to see him, if he could, continue to play at the level he has. You're talking about a guy that's going to set maybe a lot of records, not only for Alabama, but a lot as he goes through his career, only a true sophomore. But love to see him at least sitting at the Heisman presentation, being a part of that and representing that side of the football that doesn't get represented a lot. Warren Sapp was with me back in 1994. You think back on a number of Woodson and other guys that had a chance to be there, be a part of that as well. So, really, I think for him could be a great moment. All right, let's go back to AVX. Lars and Matt, good to go. Let's go back to Lars. Lars, how are you today, man?
Hey, doing good. And let's just we had some technical difficulties, and it happens. And
live radio, we operate without a net.
Well, I'm still relatively new, even though Jay and I have been doing this 3 years. It feels like 5 minutes, but and a few of people have commented. Julie, I love her comments. Calm down, Lars. Apparently, she could. They could hear, and we couldn't.
If this were a typewriter, you would have changed the ribbon like 5 seconds ago.
All right, so here's my question to both of you guys.
Okay,
what has been the sort of biggest faux pas you have made when there was a live mic and you didn't know it was a live mic? And I'm not saying because apparently they could hear us, Matt, but we couldn't hear them. So
that's probably the worst situation you can have.
You've been in the radio business for a long time.
Since Marconi.
Yeah. So what is the most embarrassing moment of your career when it comes to a live mic situation?
My first program, this is not going to be very eventful, so I'll keep it close. Keep it quick. My first program director said, Matt, every microphone is a live microphone. And as a result of that, I haven't really made any, I've had some technical snafu where I played 2 records at the same time. I once lifted the needle off while it was playing. I've had some mental faux pas, but I never yelled anything or cursed to the point where I was in big time trouble. Jade, have you done anything that way?
Not that way, but I did something with Matt one time because I'm not a big NASCAR guy. And Matt, I don't know if you remember this or not, but we had, oh my gosh, he was the guy that was there at the track. It was with Allison Boys for years. We had him on as a guest, and he still does a lot of stuff in NASCAR on Fox.
Larry
great
McReynolds.
guy from Alabama. Yeah, yeah. So he was on with us, and we were talking about the race coming up or whatever else. And so, I'm just this is my first maybe like 2 or 3, I guess probably 2 or 3 weeks, or not only that, maybe in the show with you. And he's on as a guest. I'm trying to think about a great question. And so I just happened to look at the weather, and I'm like, hey, if it rains, how do those guys adjust to that on the track? And he helped me out so much. And he was like, well, first of all, we'll probably pull them off the track. We won't race, but if that happens, it could be slippery conditions. And, went on and just saved me big time in that moment. And I thanked him forever for that. But that probably was one of my most embarrassing moments, just not knowing enough about it at that particular time and understanding everything about it, getting into it. And I was just trying to figure out what was the best question to ask that was going to be the driver's biggest issue for the day, because I didn't know anything about the other stuff.
Yeah, and Ricky Smith is commenting and said, Lars, I've been on the computer for 20 years and I can only turn it on and off. And I'm the same way. And Matt and I are de facto, we're IT guys as well as running the board right now.
We're lucky we're here right now.
I know, it's minor miracle. But, I've just never been handy. I mean, I can't fix anything in my house. I literally have problems changing a light bulb because I will probably unscrew it too much, and then like part of the light bulb will come out.
Can you change a flat?
Absolutely not. I covered NASCAR for 20 years. I can't change my oil. I can't change a flat tire. No. I couldn't show you where the carburetor is. Nothing. I know what.
And yet you've had Schlitz malt liquor with Tony Stewart after he won.
Yes.
Although I don't think it was malt liquor. I think it was just regular Schlitz.
I think it may have been malt liquor. Yeah, a lot of. It was funny too. Like with Dale Jr. when he was the Bud driver, he always drank Coors Light, And also when Elliott Sadler was the M&M's driver, M&M's upset his tummy, to put it mild. And so he would fake eating M&Ms if he won a race. And so, we'd go to his place and go to his trailer or go to his motor coach. They aren't trailers. They're $1 million.
He was one of the greatest guys out there. I loved Elliott.
But yeah. So no, not handy, not good with computers. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's and also there's just so much that goes into it happening, and it's also as crazily simple today than it's ever been. That's not a word, crazily, whatever, but it's the simplicity of it and what needs to happen in it all. And sometimes it's outside of what you're doing, so it's really not on you. It's more or less whether or not the barracks or the box are connecting and all the different affiliates, all that kind of stuff that nobody wants to hear about. All right, so let's talk about the CFP top four. Well, first of all, were y'all being heard through the radio stations? Was it being overheard through BamaInsider? Because you may have been up on BamaInsider.
I'm not sure.
I wish it were none of the above.
I'm only taking it from Julie on BamaInsider.
I gotcha.
And apparently
that may be word.
that we're still not being seen, but we are being heard. So that is a good thing.
I got you. Okay.
But yeah, this is way
we're
too
like
much
children.
Way
Isn't
too
that the
much
whole
background.
thing?
Way too
Children
much
should be
background
seen, not heard.
information.
Yeah.
Heard, not
Let's get into the CFP
it's not,
and the rankings last night.
It's not pretty how
any
the sausage is made,
surprises?
right?
Exactly. Any surprises, Matt, last night as far as the CFP?
Not at all. I mean, the top 8 didn't change at all, correct? And I read one article this morning that said Alabama strengthened their position. I went, huh? But no, you still got, and I've got to.
Yeah,
I've got to call my
top
computer
7,
back. Just give the top 8.
The top 7 remain the same. So 1 Georgia, 2 Alabama, 3 Oregon, 4 Ohio State, 5 Cincinnati, 6 Michigan, 7 Michigan State, 8 Notre Dame, 9 Oklahoma State, 10 Wake Forest. And it's interesting, at this point of the season in the CFP era, no team out of the top 10 has ever made it into the playoffs. So, I mean, is there any way Wake Forest could make it in? I doubt it. But you never know. And I mean, what is most intriguing about this is Michigan is ahead of Michigan State. Am I missing something? Didn't Michigan State beat Michigan?
And that is being questioned, but not nearly as much would have been questioned had Ohio State been in front of Oregon. And right now, I think Ohio State is better than Oregon.
Oh, I do too. And how much does head-to-head count? Because is head-to-head just a snapshot in time, or does it factor 3 months later when Ohio State and Oregon are completely different teams? I mean, if you remember that game, and it was a really fascinating game, for whatever reason, Ohio State just was not ready for the option. And do you remember that game, Jay? Like, Oregon wasn't ready for the option, pardon me, I got that wrong again. Ohio State was not ready for Oregon's option attack, and their outside linebacker kept crashing into the line, and the quarterback would just flip it to the running back, and Oregon just ran all over them. And also CJ Stroud was making like his second start or something, and he is a totally different quarterback than he was back in mid-September. And I think Ohio State is sort of right there with Alabama as the second best team in the country. No way do I think if Oregon and Ohio State played again, even if it was in Eugene, that Oregon would be able to stay within 2 touchdowns of Ohio State, Matt.
I don't think so either. And I think if Cincinnati gets in, and by the way, I don't have that big a crystal ball, but I think Oregon or Ohio State may lose a game, and we're going to find out whether or not Cincinnati, they've just been toying with the Bearcats and keeping them within shooting range. But I think that's going to happen, and we'll see if they actually vote them in. let me kind of twist everything around, since that seems to be the theme of the day. Jay, if either Oregon, well, even Alabama, if Alabama, Oregon, or Ohio State lost leading up to the Final Four, would Cincinnati truly get in the top four?
They might, sitting at number 5. I mean, it's, they're still undefeated. They're 10-0. They played their schedule. Again, it's going to be whether or not the committee is looking at it from, competitiveness and eye test, and looking at it from the people that they've played. They say that's how they kind of look at as far as the priorities and how they choose the 4 teams. If they're looking at just record, if they're looking at a perfect season, if they're looking at a team that at times has looked well, and then last week didn't look very good. They're, I think, going to have a tough decision to make. If Alabama goes through their schedule regular season, gets to the SEC title game, and was to lose close, and had won impressively the last 2 weeks against Arkansas, Auburn, but lose close to Georgia, I still think Alabama, who's been sitting at that number 2 or number 1 spot this year, would have a chance to, they haven't moved outside the top 2, would have a chance to still maybe get some love from the committee. I think a lot of that, and I hate to say this, but it's true. It goes back to what they've done over the last decade or more, and the championships that Coach Saban has won. They know the consistency that they bring. They know how they compete in the playoffs, and how they, when they get there, they play their best football. And the amount of championships they've won have proven that. So I think that helps them, their past. And for others, I think that, they don't have that same type of pedigree or resume in order to maybe be sitting there. Alabama does. I don't think Oregon does, Matt, like Alabama does. So if Oregon loses again, they're done. Cincinnati, the one that's creeping up, I'm telling you, Notre Dame. Notre Dame is creeping up, and they've got a lot of power inside the CFP, I think. And the guys that want to see them playing for a championship every year, being a part of the CFP. Why? Because it brings TV dollars. It brings TV eyes. It brings fans from all over the world that support Notre Dame. So we'll see how it all works out. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back and continue. Before we do that, though, Rock and Roll Sushi, it is the biggest hit in the restaurant business, an amplified dining experience you get only there. It's the rolls you love with the amplified music, the rock and roll music that you love, and you get to do it with the people that you love. That's their amplified dining experience you'll find at Rock and Roll Sushi. They started at 1,000 square foot modest space in Mobile, Alabama. So it's an Alabama company. And now I've grown to 56, 57 locations. New location, downtown Birmingham, is 5th Avenue South and Richard Arrington Boulevard. Great location, and inside is absolutely beautiful. You'll love it. The setting and downtown Birmingham. And there's 5 or 6 locations now around that area, metro area. And again, all throughout our listening area, you'll find the biggest hit in the restaurant business. That is Rock and Roll Sushi. All right, we'll be back live from AVX. Stay with us.
You're listening to The Jay Barker Show, live from the AVX studios in downtown Birmingham.
One in 7 men will face prostate cancer. Nearly 500 new cases are diagnosed every day in the U.S. Traditional treatments can cause erectile dysfunction and urinary incontinence. But now there's a new option, high-intensity focused ultrasound, or HIFU.
Men who are really looking for an option that really preserves their urinary and sexual function are great candidates for HIFU treatment.
Preserve your quality of life. Call 866-4-VITURO or visit VituroHealth.com.
Hi, it's Jay Barker for AVX, Audio Video Excellence. They are the premier provider for custom audio-visual design and installation in the Southeast. AVX seeks excellence in everything it does, including a superior employee experience. AVX offers employees an industry-leading salary, insurance benefits, and 401k options. AVX technicians also receive the highest level of certification and continue training, making it one of the most awarded and decorated companies in the industry. Career opportunities are available now for technicians in Birmingham and Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. Join the AVX team by contacting them at avxinc.com.
Hi, this is Wes McClooney, owner of the New Balance Birmingham store. If you're average and you're looking for a new pair of running or walking shoes, I suggest you go to an average shoe store, where they'll sell you a pair of average shoes built for the average person with average size feet. But here's the thing, you're not average. No one is. We all exercise differently. We run differently. We walk differently. And our feet come in all sorts of widths and lengths. That's why at the New Balance Birmingham store, we employ fit specialists who will conduct an in-depth analysis of your foot size and shape, along with your gait, and then determine the best New Balance shoes custom fit to you. Because New Balance isn't your average shoe, and you're not average either. Experience the difference an unaveraged custom fit makes today at the New Balance Birmingham store on Highway 280 next to Chick-fil-A. New Balance Birmingham, your feet will thank you.
We all want to create a product or service that's going to change the marketplace. Jeremy and Gina Miller have done it with LocalRealty.com. LocalRealty.com, they've saved sellers over $600,000 in listing fees just in the last 2 years alone. How do they do it? The full service flat listing fee of $2,900, saving you thousands. 5-star ratings on Zillow with over 400 testimonials. Sold over 1,000 plus homes in the Birmingham metro area since 2016. Go online at LocalRealty.com or give them a call at 205-564-3200. That's 564-3200 for Local Realty.
Hi, it's Jay Barker. I want to tell you about my good friends Craig and Keith at Birmingham Broker. Go online at bhambroker.com. That's bhambroker.com or 205-716-1269. Got 7 kids, man, and we had to sell a lot of cars. And these guys are looking for a lot of inventory. They helped us with all the hassle. No stress for us. They did the process. Again, as we continue here on this Wednesday edition, and man, I tell you, you look at just the Alabama Crimson Tide, Arkansas coming up this weekend, and we were talking earlier about the fact that what's it going to take for this team to continue to stay at that number 2 spot, or could they lose a game? I don't think they can lose a game in the regular season. I don't even know if they could lose to Georgia and still get in. I know Alabama fans are saying, hey, that ain't going to happen. Alabama's going to win out. Hey, we're just looking at possibilities, things that could happen, what ifs, all that type of stuff. And is there anybody in the country that could lose a game? And in my opinion, I think Alabama's the only one sitting in that top 4 right now. They've been consistently in the top 2 all throughout the year. And if they were to lose to a close game in a championship game like the SEC title game, I think that would be different, especially if they were able to look impressive against Arkansas and the Auburn Tigers. Oregon, I don't think that is the case. Ohio State, I don't think that is the case. Georgia definitely can lose and still get in. They're sitting in the catbird seat right now. Cincinnati needs all that to happen. They need a lot of things to happen in front of them. Even though they're sitting at number 5, I still think if you look right outside of that with Michigan State, Notre Dame creeping their way in here in the Week 9 CFP rankings. Notre Dame, man, they're like I said earlier, they're coming up in the polls, and they're just sitting right out there. All right, let's go to Roger Hoover, who joins us each and every Wednesday from CTSN, Crimson Tide Sports Network. Roger, always great to have you on, my man. Okay, Roger's not up yet, so we'll know that. First time I've heard Josh on my talk back. Good stuff in a long time. All right, when you got Roger Hoover will be with us here in just 1 second. So maybe that was Lars actually talking to me on the talkback. Guys, again, when you look at as far as just, some of the matchups we'll see over the next few weeks, the ones that earlier in the year we looked at with Arkansas and Auburn, we kind of said, look, that Arkansas game now, what we thought was going to be different is going to be a tough matchup. It's going to be a very physical football game. And we didn't really think that going into preseason. And then as we watched this team early on, we're like, wow, man, Sam Pittman, look at the job he's done. Even Coach Saban has mentioned a lot of great things that Sam has done since getting to Arkansas, just the mentality and the type of team that he's built. But we didn't know that was going to be tough. We're like, okay, this is going to be a tough game. And then Auburn the same way. But both those teams have not looked good over the last few weeks at times. At times they have. But they've had some struggles. And, I think Alabama's got to stay focused in and think back on the times when these two teams were playing really well and come in ready and prepared for that type of matchup.
Yeah, Jay. What I love about Sam Pittman is he inherited a team that was winless in the SEC. And now he has his kids playing so hard for him. And I know Roger Hoover is now joining us. Roger, good afternoon. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey guys, doing well. Yeah, enjoying the fun overlap season between basketball and football, but everything is good here in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, did you have a chance to deal with Alabama basketball last night, and why was it low scoring? And is South Alabama just that good?
I think South Alabama's pretty good. I think they came out with a really good game plan. They've had a lot of D1 transfers, a lot of SEC transfers come into that program. So, they were able to play kind of their best game against Alabama, and they made the Crimson Tide a little uncomfortable. Some shots were falling for Alabama, and also I think the one big thing to remember is Juwan Gary was out. And he so far has been that one player that's stepping up defensively, kind of like Herbert Jones did for all those years here in Tuscaloosa. So I think that was the main thing Alabama was missing last night, some of that defensive intensity.
Getting joined with Roger Hoover from the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Roger, what has been most impressive about the Nate Oats sort of era, and just sort of taking the big picture look, the fact that that he's signed 2 5-stars in next year's recruiting class, first time I believe ever that's happened, and just able to make the run to the Sweet 16 last year. What is it that distinguishes Nate from other coaches?
Well, it's a style of play, first of all. It's a style of play that players love to play because offensively you're going to get up and down the floor really quickly and shoot a three-pointer. I mean, I saw a lot of their practices where they've had, a 7-second shot clock where you have to go to the length of the floor and get a three-pointer up. I mean, they play at such a fast pace, but then back it up with blue-collar toughness on defense. And, their entire focus is on defense because the offense almost goes unspoken for. You're going to play that style of offense when you play for Coach Oats, but the whole focal point is just defensive intensity and toughness. And I think players just love that. And the other thing, you have that style of play, but he has done such a good job developing the roster that he inherited. That's why we saw, some ups and downs his first year, but still some really great moments like the win against undefeated Auburn early in SEC play, got off to a very good start in SEC play his first year. And then last year, just developed that roster as the season went along to where they went 4-3 in the non-conference and then just dominated the entire league after that and won the SEC tournament. So I think he's got players that are buying in and how he gets to recruit. The fact that, if you look at 3 of the last 4 years, there's been a lottery guard taken in the NBA draft from Alabama. And that's why 5 stars want to come to Alabama. It's now be the next guy that goes in the NBA draft lottery.
Roger Hoover from Crimson Tide Sports Marketing is our guest on the Jay Barker Show. Matt, Lars, and Jay. I want to ask you about individuals. How's the big guy from Canada, Bediako, improving? I thought he played a terrific game last night. I think he had 8 points and 5 rebounds, but 2 critical free throws down the stretch.
Yeah, those free throws were everything, and that's, again, part of making a complete basketball player. That's another area where the Crimson Tide coaching staff has worked with him hard all summer long, so that was great to see. But he's got just tremendous length, size, and toughness that you just can't coach almost, the tough way that he plays this game. He's kind of quiet, soft-spoken guy away from the floor. They call that nice Chuck, and then he's angry Chuck, but he's on the floor making the big plays and the highlight reel dunks that we love to see. Certainly did that against South Dakota State, and I think he's going to continue doing that. Also throughout his Alabama career, but he is just a rim protector that the Crimson Tide have not had since probably Dante Hall. That's how long it's been. So you add that to a NATO style offense and defense, it's a pretty impressive group this Crimson Tide team's put together.
Roger, let's switch over to Alabama football. And, man, the injuries just keep coming at the running back position. And now Trey Sanders is in a position to really sort of emerge. What do you think has been the reason why Trey hasn't gotten as many carries as many of us thought he would at the start of the season? Is it just he's still recovering from the automobile accident, and it maybe just not isn't trusting his body the way that he was pre-accident? What is it, and what are your expectations now of for Trey Sanders as he ostensibly he's going to be the number 2 back?
Yeah, I think the reason he didn't get as many touches early on were because Alabama really had to tighten up that running back rotation between, at first, Brian Robinson Jr. and Jace McClellan. We certainly saw that in the Florida game. There wasn't a chance to really break in Roydell Williams even or Trey much that ball game because it was so tight. Same can be said for Texas A&M with the way that game was going. So now with the injuries, he's got more of an opportunity, and I think it's honestly a great thing that he has had as few carries as he's had this season because it's given his body more and more time to get further away from the accident, allow him to go through more rehabilitation that he needs to do, even though he is in football shape, has been since he scored a touchdown against Miami. It's just allowed him to be fresher for this time of the year. And with the injuries we've seen to Roydell Williams and Jace McClellan, now you really need Trey to emerge and step up as that great option behind Brian Robinson Jr., who also is hard to take off the field. The dominant running style that he's had, how great of a year he's put together, because I think we all kind of wondered, would he be able to have that lead running back type carry totals like we saw with Najee Harris and seen some from other running backs in the Nick Saban era like Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram. I think he can. I think he can handle that workload, but now Trey's got to come in and be effective not only in running the football when he's called upon, but the big thing is he's got to be tough in pass blocking. That has got to be the area where he doesn't make a mistake. And for everything we've heard, he's had great practices this week, especially now moving up to that second team role. He knows how big of a role he's got on this football team now.
Roger, where is Alabama up front along the offensive line? Update us on injuries and so forth.
Yeah, or it's still day-to-day with Darian Dalcourt, and with that, you're just going to continue to see a little bit of shuffling and see more of Chris Owens snapping the football at center, and then Damian George has continued to emerge. I thought he had a really good game last time out against New Mexico State, but it's certainly an area worth keeping an eye on, and you just hope that at some point Darian Dalcourt will be healthy and will be able to contribute, because when this offensive line was playing at best earlier this season, he was a big difference maker.
Talking with Roger Hoover of the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Roger, what are you going to be looking for in this Arkansas game? Is there a particular position group? Obviously, running back and offensive line sort of jump out. Defensive backfield still had some communication issues even last week going against a vastly inferior opponent. What are you going to be looking for? And by no means is this a gimme for Alabama. And we were just talking about Sam Pittman and what a job he's done at Arkansas. But what few things are you going to be keeping an eye out on?
I'm keeping an eye on for this group to be as aggressive as they can be. And like you mentioned, this is by no means, again, the Arkansas like great football, and they're really getting healthier. Yeah, I had a good conversation with their broadcaster, Chuck Barrett, earlier today for the Crimson Tide Sports Network, saying, Arkansas is about as healthy as it's been all throughout the season. Used the bye week well, used the LSU game well, and they're playing some really good football right now. I just want to see Alabama be really aggressive downfield. I want to start seeing some home run balls to Jameson Williams. Obviously, we saw that against New Mexico State, and their defense kind of lends Alabama to try to play with that kind of style. But I think with Arkansas as well, you don't want to play this game completely on the line of scrimmage. Yes, you want to run the ball. Yes, you want to use the clock effectively. But I think Alabama's got to get to a really aggressive style and really try to put up some points and make Arkansas play a shootout style game, because I don't think Arkansas is built to play that kind of game as Alabama is. And it's kind of time to bring that 2020 offensive mentality into this season. Just let Bryce do his thing with Jameson Williams, John Mechie, be explosive down the field. That's what I want to see more than anything, because Arkansas can hang with Alabama if it's a line of scrimmage game and if it's low scoring. But if Alabama can really bust this thing open into the 40s, I think the Crimson Tide are in good shape to clinch that berth to Atlanta.
Roger, we hear you every day on the Crimson Tide Sports Network and also over the weekend. Update us on what you're doing this week and how folks can follow you.
It's a really busy time, like I mentioned, with basketball and football kind of overlapping. I've got women's basketball tonight on SEC Network Plus, Alabama against Southern Miss. And then I'll be calling the game on Friday, the men's game between Alabama and Oakland. I'll be teaming up with Richard Hendricks for the broadcast on SEC Network Plus of that ball game. And then we'll have 3 hours of pregame coverage starting at 11:30 on a Saturday morning, taking you up right to the Arkansas game. We'll have a post-game show where Tyler Watts and I will take your calls after the ball game from the Grocery Brew Pub in downtown Tuscaloosa. And then hopping on a flight early Sunday morning, going to Dallas, calling the women's game on radio against Duke, flying right back to Birmingham and starting it all next week before we head out with the men's team to Orlando. So it's a busy time, but a good time to be here.
And we appreciate your time here. Thanks, Roger.
Thanks, Roger.
All right, thank you guys. We'll
There
talk to you
is
next
a
week.
huge, there is a huge difference between the SEC and other conferences, but there is even more so in other areas. And there's a difference between the Big 12 and the SEC. I'm going to share with you after we hear from Jay.
Yeah, I told, I don't know, you hear me, I told, get a job. I mean, that guy doesn't have enough to do, does he? Unbelievable what Roger Hoover does every single weekend. Great job at it as well. Hey, are you fully promoted? Do you struggle finding new ideas, branding, and marketing for your business? In today's environment, your brand needs to stand out and to get fully noticed and fully promoted. Fully Promoted offers extensive branding marketing solutions to get your name in front of your potential customers. And they got local experts to help you that really specialize in putting your logo on apparel, team gear, caps, promotional products, trade show items, and printed materials to provide access to samples that you can touch and feel, and personalized service to assist you with product selection and decoration methods, taking your brand to the next level. Call Fully Promoted today at 205-406-6430 and mention that you heard this ad on the Jay Barker Show for that special offer. Again, that's 205-406-6430. Are you fully promoted? We'll be back live from AVX, and back to Matt. All right, let's go out. All right, welcome back in as we wrap up hour number one. And again, thanks to Roger Hoover from CTSN joining us and having a chance to spend some time with him, get his thoughts not only on the Crimson Tide and the Arkansas game coming up this weekend, but also Nate Oats, the basketball team, and really all sports that he covers. As we brought up, he has busy weekends, busy weeks, and does a terrific job there for the Crimson Tide. Matt, you teased it going in, talking about fines and the difference between conferences. I'll let you take it from there.
Well, we all saw Oklahoma lose at Baylor. Baylor's fans stormed the field. That's become it's becoming an increasing activity, and quite honestly, I'm done with it. But the Big 12 handed out a fine to Baylor. We're familiar with that. What is the Southeastern Conference fine teams when they do it?
Not sure.
They get
$250,000.
The SEC changed their policy.
Yeah.
Well, they changed their policy back in 2015 to make it $50,000 for the first violation, up to $100,000 for the second, and $250,000 for each after that. So to get to that $250,000, you've got to have two violations before that, and then get to the $250,000. And there have been teams that have done that in 1 year.
Yeah, but and maybe it's not as big a deal since we start at 50 at the Southeastern Conference, but the Big 12's starting point is $25K, and Lars could just pay that right now.
Can I tell you something really quick? When I was
Absolutely.
like 8 or 9 years old, Nebraska beats Oklahoma. Fans storm the field, and I'm with my brother, and of course we are down there. We were a part of it. I got pushed down to the ground. I'm just a little kid. I thought I was going to get trampled to death. I really did. And it was a Nebraska player who saw me on the ground, lifted me up, and carried me to the side of the field. It's one of the most terrifying experience. No, shut
Yeah,
up.
it happened last night.
Yeah. No, it was really one of the more terrifying experiences of my life. And I don't know if you guys ever been to like rock concerts, right? Where like you're down sort of in the mosh pit or whatever, and you go down on the ground. It can be a very scary experience.
Well, and as unfortunately we've seen here recently. But do you remember who the player was? I mean, send the guy.
I think it was Jim Pillen, number 29. I believe he's running for Congress right now in Nebraska. I need to send a thank you note.
Well, send him a contribution to his campaign.
Nah, he's running as a right-wing Democrat or right-wing Republican.
Oh, well, that's not happening. All right, Jay, take it to the topic.
He's a right-wing Democrat at first.
Yeah.
That's great. Great story, though. And, yeah, I mean, I've been in situations like that, where you get caught in crowds and you're just like, oh, my God. I can get claustrophobic pretty fast. Not as bad as I used to be, but then Sarah's horrible about it. And she has reasons to be. There's stuff as far as her getting hit by a car and being in a body cast for like months. I mean, it's, that stuff affects you a little bit psychologically, but hopefully you haven't been affected by that, Lars, throughout your life as well with that situation. But man, you don't like it when that happens. All right, we'll continue live from AVX. Again, hour number 2 coming up on the other side. Stay with us. Presented by Top Golf for Birmingham and driven by Sonny King Ford. We'll be back. from AVX and presented by Top Golf of Birmingham. Mark Grenier, all the great folks there at Top Golf. Go check them out for yourself. You'll love it. Great family fun and with friends, family, coworkers, and all the great food, drinks. You'll love it at Top Golf of Birmingham. Driven by Sunny King Ford on the sunny side of the street, Oxford and Anniston. Go see Tony Russell and all the great folks there at Sunny King Ford. Matt Coulter, Lars Anderson, and back at the AVX studios. I'll be back in there tomorrow as well as we get ready for a big weekend with Alabama and Arkansas and other matchups around the country as Alabama stays at number 2 in the CFP top 4 and right there behind Georgia and ahead of Oregon and Ohio State. That is your top 4 teams right now. And I don't think there's really a lot of disputing. I don't think many people think that should be any different. I know people felt like when Alabama stayed at number 2 in the country that, should they have dropped out further than that? Should they have been able to stay at that number 2 spot? But I think they've kind of shown that they deserve to be there, and based on also other teams that have now lost and have now not been able to stay perfect as they had earlier in the season. But Matt, have you heard many people, Lars, as far as people that have said, look, this is not the top 4 they would agree with? I mean, I think some people thought that Oregon might get surpassed or Ohio State might move into that 3 spot, Oregon behind them. But, how do you do that with a head-to-head? But they did it with Michigan State. Michigan, as Lars brought up very nicely earlier in the show.
Yeah, I think most people feel that the top 4 is correct right now. It's definitely going to change. One team to keep an eye on is Michigan State. They control their own destiny. They play at Ohio State this weekend, 11 o'clock kick. It's one of those early games on ABC.
Is that the big noon?
Yes. Look, Michigan State is fully capable of going into the horseshoe and beating Ohio State. If they do that, it's obviously going to increase their strength of schedule. They've beaten Michigan head to head. And then if they go on and win the conference championship, and they're going to be facing an inferior team from the other side of the conference, maybe
Wisconsin or
Iowa, and then they would be in. And, I've had this long running theory that Mel Tucker is going to be the next head coach at Alabama. I thought maybe he was going to go to LSU, but it looks like Michigan State is just going to throw gazillions of dollars at him. And so he won't be leaving there anytime soon until the Alabama job comes open. Again, that's just my theory. But again, team to look at, team to watch. I would venture to say that it's the game of the weekend in terms of the ramifications for the college football playoffs. Michigan State at Ohio State. Matt, your thoughts on that game? Can Michigan State go in and upset the Buckeyes? It wouldn't be a huge upset. And also, I keep forgetting the name of the running back from Michigan State. Walker. He could solidify his he could make or further his case for the Heisman Trophy if he goes and has a big game against that Buckeye defense.
I don't think he's going to have a big game. And while I think it is the game of the weekend nationally, I don't think they go in there and win that. I do think it's worth noting that another game I think that has great interest is Oregon traveling to Utah. I mean, you got 2 ranked teams there. And Oregon has been, I would say, less consistent than Ohio State has since that football game. So I'm giving the Utes a fighting chance here. But I want to go back to your Michigan State story. Golly, if they do that, they jump Cincinnati and everybody, right?
Absolutely, strength of schedule. Yeah. They'll jump Michigan, yeah, and
obviously Michigan because
they beat Michigan head to head.
They'll jump undefeated Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I agree.
Strength of schedule. Jay, is there of the games that we just discussed, those 2 games, Ohio State, Michigan State, Oregon, and Utah, which of those 2 are you really going to be paying attention to?
Well, I'll be paying attention to all those, but I like the one that intrigues me is the Michigan State Ohio State game. And a lot of that because of what you just brought up as far as, Mel Tucker, rumors, surrounding him and his future there have been happening for weeks. And, does this now begin to calm things down as you look at them, maybe with what he's built and the things he's doing, East Lansing, what he's done there. And can they give him, can they get that contract to where, they're talking about crazy money right now, as you brought up, and some of the rumors they're circulating about Mel Tucker. But it looks like they're going to be able to keep him there. So does that, bring some confidence and stability to the program, to the players as they enter this matchup against Ohio State? Does that help them in a sense psychologically and emotionally going into it as well? And I agree, if they beat Ohio State, that's going to move them way, way up and get them back in position to play. I earlier in the year, and I know that they've, had the loss or whatever, but they just looked like a really good football team. They looked like they were a team that was built and acted a lot like what you see in a lot of Alabama teams. And Mel Tucker himself, you talk about a guy that went out and probably used the transfer portal as well as anybody. It was like 17 guys that were kind of either that came in or in and out of the transfer portal. That it was almost like NFL free agency. And he also used it to get rid of a lot of the bad apples and a lot of guys that he didn't want on the team, or guys that he talked to and said, look, if you can't buy in, then you need to move on. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that with coaches, even with some great players that are out there. Not to name names or anything else with anybody in whether it be Alabama or Auburn or the SEC teams, but you talk to a lot of coaches. There are a lot of players that fans wonder why they're not hitting the field. A lot of times it's not about they don't know the playbook. It's not about they don't know certain things or the experience. They're great players. They have great talent, but they're not doing the elite things off the field in order to earn their way on the field. You got to earn your way on the field. You got to be at practice. You got to stay awake in meetings. You got to go to class. You got to do the things that you're supposed to do, make your workouts, be on time. And if you don't do those things, then a lot of these coaches now are saying, get the portal, move on. They don't want that cancer around their football team, even if they look great in a spring practice, in a spring game, or even a fall practice, and people wonder why they're not playing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like you go look at the transfer portal and Kenneth Walker III. Again, I think he is probably the Heisman front runner right now. Where did he come from? Transfer from Wake Forest.
Wake Forest.
And
how good they would be.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. And he only had 3 FBS offers coming out of high school. As 24/7 Sports had him ranked as the 2,164th recruit in the class of 2019. But then, gosh, he just development, and that's what they've been able to do with him. Yeah, imagine if he was at Wake Forest. Imagine how different. Wake Forest is great.
You watch them?
Yeah,
they're a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, our buddy
you're North Carolina.
Carrie Essis's wife, who's a friend of ours, friend of the show, went to Wake Forest.
She's a Demon Deacon, one of the prettiest campuses I've ever seen in my life.
I've never been there.
I've
never been to Wake.
It's a small private school, so only probably 5,000. But Jay brought up something that just went.
By the way, Miles Brennan. Speaking of transfer portal, real quick, he's looking at Nebraska. Just had to get that out there.
Okay. Huge light bulb went over my head when Jay said coaches are using the transfer portal. I think we all see a guy that's not getting much playing time. I'm going to Alabama, whatever the case may be. But a coach says, hey, look, man, it's just not meshing out. Jay, that's a great point, and I would really like to find out how, when, and where somebody's used that. It's a scholarship play.
Yeah, Mel Tucker did it. He there's a number of guys that he said you need to go find somewhere else to play. You don't fit. And look, scholarships are year to year. People don't realize that, but most coaches have always honored the scholarship and said, look, we're going to stick it out. Why'd they do it? They did it because of recruiting. They worried about if we tell a guy to leave, and and they've done it in so many ways. Whether it's been through disciplinary stuff, whether it be through in the past. And now I just think everybody's up front and just says, look, I want to go somewhere. Okay, you can get in the transfer portal, or we want you to get in the transfer portal. You need to get in the transfer portal. I think they're more upfront about it now because of that, Matt. And Mel Tucker used it. He's the one that I think everybody's now looking at saying, okay, look at how much that improved their team, not just from a player standpoint, but just a chemistry standpoint, to where you didn't have the cancers inside the locker room that, everybody looked at it and went, why is this guy so talented, but he can't go to class? Why can't you stay awake in meetings? Why can't you be at workouts? Why are you not making this? All the little things off and you're not going to hit the field if you can't do that. No, especially not under a great coach, not under Coach Saban, not under Mel Tucker, not under a Kirby Smart, any of those guys that demand the off the field stuff to be met before you can get on the field. And I mean, even on the practice field. I mean, some guys have had to sit out, games, weeks because of those type of actions. And, I don't understand it, to be honest with you, because, I dreamed of having the talent of a lot of these guys, what they've got, and yet they just don't have the heart or the ability to get things done.
I mean, look, Jay, you make such a great point about Mel Tucker and Michigan State. He absolutely remade the team through the transfer portal. How many players entered the transfer portal last year with the intention of leaving? 27. 27. How many players did they get from the transfer portal? 18. Many of them starters, especially, and there were 15 scholarship players, 3 preferred walk-ons who came into the program, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, their whole defense was remade in the image that Mel Tucker wanted to create. And you know what that image is? Nick Saban at Alabama.
That's Mel Tucker's mentor.
Yeah.
And he was like a GA or first-time assistant under him.
This is a textbook case study, and probably will be held up for a long time, of how to use the transfer portal to refashion your entire team. I mean, Jay, that's a great point. I mean, I honestly hadn't thought about that and hadn't looked into it, and it's really profound what Mel Tucker's been able to do. And some of the most important players on that team on both sides of the ball came through the transfer portal.
Does it say there how many he put or suggested go to the transfer portal?
I think
ended up on other teams, or
that I don't know.
I'm asking you to do a really deep dive there.
But again, if a player, I mean, Jay, wouldn't you say this is correct? If a player ends up in the transfer portal, essentially the coaching staff has told him that, okay, after spring practice, this is where, or it would be like the exit meeting, right, Jay? At after spring practice, where the head coach and probably the position coach meets with each player and says, this is where you are in the depth chart. We're just going to lay it out. And this is what where things stand with you. Is that correct? And so you're kind of giving the player a nudge, so to speak, to say, hey, if you want to go look somewhere else and you're going to get more playing time, then go ahead. Is that sort of how, Jay, you're understanding kind of how it works?
It is. And I think if you are willing to stick it out and be there for the time you graduate, 3 years, 4 years, whatever, and you've given to the team, and this is just my opinion, I think how most of the coaches react to that is they say, okay, you've done your job, you still have playing time left to play, we're going to help you. We're going to help you find another place to go play. We're going to reach out to our contacts. You're not getting playing time here, you're down the depth chart, but you can go play somewhere else. You can have a great career, and who knows, you might be able to do things that or play at a level that you never thought you could. So there's a lot of things that I think the coaches talk to the players and try to help them make the best decision for them and their future. And it's an interesting deal now. I mean, the transfer portal is, as we said, that NIL, I mean, there's just so many changes that one may be one of the biggest that can really help teams not only reload, but also, because I really thought this was going to help more for the power, I mean, which it has. I mean, Alabama's, the Clemson's, the Ohio States, and even which we saw in Mel Tucker, Michigan State. But I do think there are ways using that you're like Mel Tucker did to really improve the stature of his team and how they played and the way that the chemistry was and how he wanted to build it quickly. So I think the transfer portal becomes very important for new coaches, guys that step on a campus and don't have the talent, or it's not the mix or the type of players they need to run their system. They might can get there a lot quicker than they can just through recruiting, then get through the transfer portal as well. Bigger, better before Black Friday. That's crazy. Cowboys weekend warehouse sale. You've heard us talk about it. You don't want to miss this opportunity to save on large Big box items, including sofas, exercise equipment, generators, mattresses, electronics, clothing, and so much more. It's going to be a crazy Christmas of crazy savings going on at this sale. Saturday and Sunday, November 20th and 21st. That's this Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Outside, no returns, no exchanges, no holds, no exceptions. Be ready with a truck or SUV to take your large items and crazy savings when you purchase them as well. Take I-65, exit 231, where they're located. Calera, Montevallo exit there, and follow the Crazy Casboys signs. That's 41 North Industrial Parkway, Calera, Alabama 35040 for a sneak preview of items and more details on the sale. Please follow at Crazy Casboys. That's at Crazy Casboys on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Individuals are really going to be able to save on large items that make a difference in their holiday shopping and overall budget. Link to a map on their website as well at crazycasboys.com. That's crazy, C-A-Z, boys.com. All right, big sale going on, and great this time of year for Christmas coming up as well. Can save you a ton of money coming up this weekend. Hey, we'll be back live from AVX. Matt Coulter, Lars Anderson, I'm Jay Barker. You're listening to The Jay Barker Show. We'll be back.
It's the bigger, better, and before Black Friday Crazy Casboys weekend sale. It's the bigger, better, and before Black Friday Crazy Casboys weekend sale. Get 60 to 90% off retail this weekend only. Saturday and Sunday, November 20th and 21st, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. 41 North Industrial Drive, Calera, Alabama. Take Highway 65, exit 231, and follow the signs. Don't miss it.
Okay, we're excited to head to Alabama, play the CBS national game. We know they have an outstanding team, a lot of talent everywhere on all levels on defense. Certainly, defensively, Will Anderson is as good a player as anybody has on their team, and he's going to be a major concern for ours. You know, number one thing you try to do is not let a difference maker make a difference, and in his case, it's very, very difficult. It's been fun to watch how different teams have tried to approach that problem. None of them having too much success. Obviously, Henry To'oTo'o going over there is a very good player. They're just deep in everywhere on defense. Offensively, big physical offensive line. A few of those guys over there starting for them, I tried to recruit and lost the battle when I was at Georgia. Obviously, everybody knows about Bryce Young, and Jameson Williams is certainly as good as anybody in the country. Fast. I think he's the record holder in the 300 hurdles maybe in the nation, and certainly in the state of Missouri. And of course, then you get to Coach Saban, who, you know, obviously is the best coach in the nation and has been for a long time. So very, very big challenge for us. We're excited. That's going to be an afternoon game, and excited to go to Alabama.
Sam Pittman and his press conference, and talking about not only Coach Saban and the job Alabama's done, and he goes on to talk about just Alabama, the tradition, and some individual players as well, as he was commenting about them. Lars, not much bulletin board material there for the Crimson Tide when it comes to Sam Pittman. A lot of praise from him about the players, about what they've accomplished this year, even talking about the 2:30 CBS game. And thought it was interesting, too, that he was bringing up the fact that, yeah, I mean, these are a lot of guys that I recruited and went against and lost in recruiting. He said, well, that was at Georgia, not talking about being at Arkansas. But that's the type of players he wants to get to Arkansas. And he's a tremendous recruiter. It's just, you know, you got to keep building it. And, you know, later on in that press conference, he talks about, you know, the confidence of going in. You can't walk in, you know, thinking that, you know, that this team's already beat you. You can't be beat mentally or psychologically. Instead, you got to have some belief in yourself. But I do like his realistic approach of, you know, and not just trying to, you know, not compliment the opposing team and not talk about the good things that they've done. You know, you can't. Players, they sense the lies. You know, they sense it when somebody's not telling them the truth. They'd rather be told straight up, hey, this is a great football team. It's going to take our best effort. We got to play our best game today. Let's go do that, and let's shock the world.
I have never personally met Sam Pittman, but people who I have talked to who are very familiar with him just rave about his people skills. And he has this rare ability, and this is what the best recruiters do or possess. The first time you meet him, you feel like he's been your lifelong friend, and you're inclined to trust him. And in that clip that Josh just played, it's just like you want to like the guy.
He'll all shucks you to death.
I mean, you want to like the guy, and then you look at his resume, his background. Has anybody paid more dues to get to where he is than Sam Pittman? Let me just run through this really quick.
You got the same thing I do.
Let me just run through
Pittsburgh State. Go.
Yeah, okay, it started in 1984. Pittsburgh State. In Kansas, and then Beggs High School, Oklahoma, as the offensive coordinator. 1987, Princeton Senior High School in Missouri. Then Trenton High School, 1989 in Missouri. Then Hutchinson Community College as the O-line coach in 91. Hutchinson, I won't even so he's been an assistant in all these. Hutchinson, Northern Illinois, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, Western Michigan, Missouri, Kansas, Northern Illinois, North Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas, Georgia as the O-line coach, Georgia as the assistant head coach, and then finally 2020 Arkansas, he gets his chance, and he has turned that team around. Again, when he inherited a team that had went winless in the SEC. The one thing, though, Matt, that Chad Morris did, he recruited. he recruited, he got players. And so the cupboard was not bare when Sam Pittman arrived, but man, he has done such a good job. And again, you're just that little clip shows, it just reveals sort of a larger truth about him that has been confirmed to me by several people who are close to him, is that you want to like the guy.
So in 1986, he's at Beggs High School, probably making what, 22 a year?
If.
And he's probably teaching algebra 2 or something of the like.
Yes.
And it took him that long. But I don't know what he signed for at Arkansas. I'd imagine it's probably $4 million, don't you think?
I hope.
Jay, is he just not the most likable guy that you've seen in recent years coming through the SEC?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And he is, like I said, he tells the truth. He talks honestly about the opposing teams. He actually is very open about his own team, very open about his own mistakes and things that he does, and where he's made some mistakes at times and during games. And he's always there to protect his players. And I tell you, the guy too that I think, I mean, all of us have talked about, but sometimes gets overlooked is Kendall Briles, the OC. Kendall went through all that with his dad, and and ended up kind of bouncing around for a second. I think he's found a really good home with Sam Pittman, because just Sam's being an opposite line coach and understanding a lot of things on the offensive side of the ball. Kendall is one of the brightest young OCs out there. I mean, he's got a bright future ahead of him. Really understands how to use his personnel, and he's done that with Jefferson. I mean, Jefferson's right at 6'4", 240 pounds, and he's can consistently throw the ball pretty well, but he's also a great runner. And they've used him a lot in the run game. I mean, this is one of the leading rushing teams in the country right now. I think they're averaging about 5.2 yards per carry and 235 yards per game. So that is been very impressive with what they've done, and doesn't surprise me with the O-line coach or the head coach being an ex-O-line coach. But KJ Jefferson, again, just he's got the size, he's got the speed. When he's got the ball in his hands, he's just a dangerous weapon that Briles can use, Kendall can, when it comes to that offensic side of the ball. And then at running back, you've got Rocket Sanders, you've got Traylon Smith, Johnson kid. I think it's Dominique Johnson. I think Smith is a little bit faster, kind of the smaller back, but leads the team in rushing yards, and really can really do things off the edge and really cause some issues for you on defense as far as spreading you out and making you have to defend the edges. And I think Alabama's got the defensive capability to do that because they're built on that speed. The key is going to be that downhill run game that they got in quarterback runs downhill, where you've got an extra blocker. So Kendall Briles, I'm sure, is going to scheme up some really good things this weekend for Alabama. It's going to be key for them to keep them in third and long, second long, and not let them get a lot of productivity, Matt, on those first down plays.
KJ Jefferson finds Burks, and they can get a little pass and catch going. It could be a long day for Alabama. And I agree about the running game, and they also need to shorten the clock.
I got to stick with Sam Pittman. I'm fascinated with him because offensive line coach. There's not a lot of offensive line coaches who go on to become extremely successful college coaches. The fraternity's relatively small. You have Matt Campbell at Iowa State. Colorado State, Steve Adazio, who used to be at Boston College. You got Mario Cristobal at Oregon, Georgia State, Sean Elliott. Used to have Les Miles at Kansas. I didn't realize Les Miles was an offensive line coach at one point. And then
he didn't either.
And then the dean of all FBS head coaches was an offensive line coach, Kirk Ferentz at Iowa. But Jay. Okay, one, as a reporter covering college football and the NFL, my go-to guys would always be the O-line, because they were, generally speaking, other than the quarterback, Jay, give you your props. Other than the quarterback, the O-line generally smartest guys on the team.
That's
are you
right.
surprised
Yeah,
that
right.
more O linemen have not become head coaches? I mean, I think Dan Campbell, the head coach of the Lions, wasn't he an O line player? I could be wrong on that, but not a lot of O line coaches in the NFL go on to be head coaches. But why is it?
They're smart enough not to.
Well, yeah. Why is it? Do you think that that there's not a long list of former O line coaches who go on to become head coaches at major programs in college football?
Yeah, I've never been asked this question, and I'll be honest, I'm sitting here just going, I never have really thought about it as to why that is or what reason would that be. I mean, maybe Matt hit on it. They're too smart to do it. They're like, forget this. I'm gonna go on and do something totally different in my life than getting into coaching. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's that it's just not seen as a high profile, job. If you don't get to that, I think you've got to move into that OC role as an offensive line coach, and then from there, and then if you move into OC role, are you creative enough at times with your offense? Because a lot of those guys, they want to run the football. They want to, they're not kind of moving into that next level. And I'm not saying they can't do that, but your quarterbacks, your wide receivers, your skill guys who play those positions, the mindset's probably a lot different than an offensive line's mindset when it comes to that kind of stuff. And then a lot of coaches we see that are very successful are defensive-minded coaches. And I don't know if that's just because of attention to detail, because of certain things that attribute to them as far as why they're on that side of the football and their ability to be that and kind of give the mentality of a team and say, this is kind of who we are. This is our DNA is we're going to play defense. We're going to be tough. We're going to be physical. And that's going to kind of be our demeanor. And, how does that affect a team? But great question. And I want to kind of get into a little bit more of that. And we got to get to break.
A
So
really
let's
quick
take a quick
follow-up.
break. We'll come back.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, let's get a
Sorry,
break.
man.
We'll be right back. Stay with us live from ADX.
Alabama. Alabama's number one this year. They're all the way down to number two.
Do they played number one?
Yeah. Do they? Well, Arkansas played number one twice in some seasons. Did they look any? They lost 3 Heisman finalists. I guess their quarterbacks. Do they look any different to you? Do they look a little more vulnerable?
No. Very, very talented. They have elite skill, big offensive and defensive linemen. They have an elite pass rusher, more than one. No, I mean, they're Alabama. I mean, they're when you turn on the film, they're what you expect to see. I mean, you have to go out there, down there and play a really, really good football game and see what happens. But, LSU played them close because LSU's got a lot of talent, and they're playing hard now and physical. And that's how you beat Alabama. If not many people can, but you're going to have to get into a fist fight and see if you can come out ahead, and you're going to have to hang on to the ball. You have to play a really, really good game to have a chance, especially on the road against Alabama.
The number one defensive guy. What is Anderson doing to get all those sacks specifically, and what really impresses you about Young?
I really like what they do with him. They move him some, but they do a lot of what I call behind the center blitzes. So they'll take him all the way behind the center. They'll take him into the A gap. He has so much speed. So the tackle this week, our tackles really, really have to have a good week of practice, because if you set wide on him, it's over. I mean, he's going to come in, he's going to beat it. You don't have time to exchange the 3 technique. Back in the old days, 3s used to run and then get contained. Now it's just straight up the field. Basically, what they're trying to do is pick the tackle and not give the guard time to come off, and he's so fast. So it's not only that he's a great one-on-one rusher, which he is, but it's because of all the multiple things they do, knowing that he's a guy. They set him up real nice, too. And
All right, welcome back in, and as we continue talking Alabama, talking about this weekend 2:30 game, and Tuscaloosa and Sam Pittman talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide. Said, are they vulnerable this year? No way. Do they look the same? Yes, after losing 3 Heisman candidates in the production on offense. It really is amazing. Again, we've brought it up many times. What Coach Saban has continued to put on the field, the consistency of the players, the type of play, and the amount of wins that they've had. But Sam Pittman, also there, which is a whole nother topic, but I'll get into it here in a second. But I was thinking about him earlier this week and just reading about him and really seeing kind of all that he's gone through and what he's accomplished, and leaving Georgia, going to Arkansas, the coaches he's been around and all that type of stuff as he's built up that resume that Lars was even running through earlier. And, your LSU right now looking for a new head coach. Look at the job he's done recruiting and the way that he's turned that Arkansas program around so quickly. Is Sam Pittman at 59 years of age, is he a potential candidate or a guy that could go in and do the things that need to be done, the discipline and the recruiting, and especially the trenches on both sides of the football, if he was to get an opportunity at LSU to be the head coach?
I mean, anything's possible, but I think Sam Pittman is such a loyal guy, and that Arkansas gave him his first legit shot at a big time head coaching position. I can't imagine him leaving. I keep going back to Dave Aranda.
Splash.
And I go back to Dave Aranda just because LSU thought so highly of him. They made him the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to Baylor, does a great job. And we'll see about that. We'll see what happens with that. But Matt, you were born in Fayetteville. You have followed Arkansas your entire life. And I know you kind of touched on this, but what is the path to victory for Arkansas in this game? And I know they're a huge underdog. But so is Texas A&M.
So was LSU.
But on both sides of the ball, What does start on the offensive side of the ball? What does Arkansas need to do to have some success? And what do you think the number is that Arkansas needs to score against Alabama?
They don't need to get into scoring fast. I mean, if Alabama starts putting them up early in the first, I think you'll know in the first quarter if Alabama hangs 21 on them that Arkansas is in deep. But if they can run the football, and Jay brought up this just a minute ago, they can run the football and do so consistently. Grind it out and make that clock run that clock. And I said this a minute ago, but I'll reiterate. I think Jefferson needs to run the football. I think they need to put plays in there to put that 6'4", 230 guy and make him an offensive weapon. And then he also has to do double time. He's got to be able to throw the football. And Burks is an incredible wide receiver when you get him going. Defensively, good luck. I think you try and force the point of attack because Alabama is, they're iffy up front. See if you can do like who held them to 6 yards? LSU did. Go back and look at that game tape and live it. Okay? Maybe you got a chance. My gut tells me they probably don't, but CBS likes it as Sam Pittman. I mean, he is so new as a head coach that he likes that. Nick Saban goes, well, he doesn't care.
Right.
No.
Pittman likes being on.
Yeah.
It's a big deal for Arkansas.
It is a big deal, my little piggy.
Hey, I want to get into an X and O's on the other side, talking something that Sam Pittman brought up about Will Anderson and how teams have done certain things and what Alabama's done to help kind of protect him and to get him opportunities because they know that he's going to get double teams. We'll dive into that and much more. Local Realty, they're going to help you get the advantage when it comes to saving money on your home. At Local Realty, they got localrealtyflatfee.com as their website, and the flat fee is $2,900 up to a $500,000 listing. Jeremy and Gina Miller are built, not only they have a great family, but built a great team of people helping you save money on the sell side of your house. Again, a $2,900 flat fee up to a $500,000 listing. They have a 5-star on Zillow, and just tons of testimonials there. People that have worked with Jeremy and Gina and their team for over the last so many years and saved millions of dollars and sold thousands of homes. They can help you out as well. Check it out for yourself. LocalRealtyFlatFee.com. That's LocalRealtyFlatFee.com for more information on Local Realty. All right, a little X and O's coming up on the other side. Stay with us.
Hours number 2 here on the Jay Barker Show. Lars Anderson, Matt Coulter live from AVX. And I said I wanted to bring up something dealing with kind of X's and O's and really about plays and stuff that happen. You know, on the offensive side of the ball, we see a lot of weekends where flags are thrown, guys, going in for a touchdown on a wheel route or, an inside slant route. And a lot of times what's called is a pick. And because the guy did not continue his route or it looked like, he's blocking down the field and you just can't do that unless the guy's catching the ball behind the line of scrimmage. And I don't know. I mean, as they've kind of come down on that, and no picking. That's been for years, right? They've really, we saw it, in games, even all this last weekend. But one thing Sam Pittman brought up, he said, what they do a lot of times, talking about defenses, and what Alabama will do, is they'll take their nose guard or their tackles, and they will, in a sense, try to take out two guys. So they'll use that guy to not only take his guy, then try to pick off the tackle or pick off the guard so the guard can't get there once he wraps around. And they'll bring Will Anderson back through the A gap. And now it's up to, can the center recognize that, or can a back pick him up in order to, maybe they slide protection more to his side and do things to just kind of create traffic. But, there's a lot of pick plays that happen up front in those ETs and TEs, which means ends and tackles twist or tackle in twist. And I think some people see that stuff, but that makes it really tough on the offensive line. Why can the defense pick and the offense can't? Lars Anderson.
Glad you go first.
Yeah. You're the expert here. Why don't you answer your own question? How about that, Jay?
Really? I'd like to know.
I don't know. I think if they get a chance to do it, especially up front where it's going to affect the quarterback in a bad way, then why not let them down the field do the same thing so you can get open receive. I mean, it's all about getting a guy open. It's all about, and look, if you run it the right way, the rest won't call it. You just got to do it right. You just got to get in the way of that guy. But, a lot of times, those tackles and those guards, I mean, their job is nothing more than just to take two guys down, take them out of the play, free up a hole for the guy to get into, or a linebacker or an end to wrap around. And it's brilliant play calls, brilliant schemes in order to apply pressure. But, if offense can't do it, why should defense be allowed to do it? All right. One last question for you guys. I heard.
Yep. Sorry, I was just going to say, on the interior of the line, it's sort of like anything goes, right? But when there is an obvious pick play going on between two wide receivers and two DBs, it is such a judgment call, and it has to do with the acting job of the wide receiver. Is it just a little rub? Is it a nudge? Is it a sort of a box out like it is in basketball, getting a rebound? I mean, I don't like it. I mean, I think it cost Alabama a national championship, a couple of years ago when the Alabama assassin, Hunter Renfrow, caught the touchdown pass from Deshaun Watson on the last play of the game. Obvious pick.
Well, and all you got to do is get a guy to bubble over the top of a guy. That's all you got to do. You just got to get him to come over the top of you, and he's out of the play. It's done. And you got to even touch the guy. I was going to ask you about referees.
I want to find out if Jay ever ran them.
Pick plays? Did we run pick plays? Oh yeah.
Yeah. You never ran pick plays.
Oh yeah.
Did you, Jay?
We did. We did. At every level that we possibly could. As Homer Smith once said, we went to a basketball game together one time at Coleman Coliseum. He wanted to sit. We sat and talked. This was about midway through our season, and he said, "That's football right there. All those picks, all that stuff that's happening. That's nothing more than the passing game." And he was right. All right, thank y'all for joining us. BamaInsider.com. Like, share, subscribe. Also to the Bama Insider Facebook page as well. And we'll see you tomorrow for the Thursday edition. Matt Coulter, Lars Anderson. I'm Jay Barker, our producer, Josh Smith, who does a great job as well, down at Tide 100.9 FM, our flagship station throughout the network, throughout Alabama and on the Gulf Coast. Have a great Thursday. See you tomorrow.